The Secret of Cartier, where jewelry meets history. Some people think Cartier became famous because of diamonds, but the truth, the one almost no one dares to say, is that the brand's secret was never luxury. It was not obvious. While the world chased after glamour, Cartier chased after history. And that's why, to this day, its jewels have survived wars, kings, scandals, economic storms, and even changes in behavior. Not because they are expensive, but because they carry something that money can't buy: purpose. The most curious thing is that, behind each piece, there is a hidden plot. Political alliances sealed in silence, forbidden romances, upheavals that changed entire kingdoms, and decisions that never made it into the history books. Cartier has always been behind the scenes of the world's most intense events, like a secret narrator holding a diamond in one hand and an enigma in the other. And the more you pull on this thread, the more you realize that the brand not only kept pace with the times, it influenced them. So before diving into this journey through the lineage of legends that shaped Cartier, prepare yourself. You are about to discover stories that don't appear in traditional documentaries. And if you want to learn, grow, and be inspired by powerful narratives like this one, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Here, each video is made for those seeking transformative knowledge, not superficial content that gets lost in time. The beginning of an empire, the jewelry store. Born from an unusual request, it is said that every great empire begins with an unlikely whisper, and with Cartier it was no different. The story begins when Louis-François Cartier, still a young, unknown craftsman, received a request that no one wanted to accept: to restore an ancient jewel that seemed beyond saving. For many, it was a waste of time. For him, it was pure opportunity. He saw beauty where others saw difficulty, something that already revealed his sharp mind. And it was in that first spark that an empire began, silently, to be born. When the client returned, astonished by the impeccable result, something rare became apparent. Someone capable of bringing life back to what had been considered lost. And this kind of skill, over time, creates rumors, and rumors create cues. Cartier understood early on that it wasn't just selling jewelry, but trust, history, continuity. It's like when someone finds a mentor who doesn't provide ready-made answers but restores the brilliance that already existed within the person. And so, piece by piece, reputation by reputation, the brand began to rise discreetly. The curious thing is that the first major order wasn't placed by a princess or someone influential, but by an ordinary person, which makes the beginning even more symbolic. This shows that often great destinies begin in small places, and those with vision recognize the extraordinary in the ordinary. Imagine if Cartier had refused, because it seemed unprofitable. The story would be completely different. And it is precisely at this point that the brand's first secret is born, something that will pave the way for what would come next. Louis Cartier and the silent ambition that changed Paris. Louis Cartier never needed to raise his voice to be heard. His silence spoke volumes. He walked the streets of Paris as if deciphering invisible codes, observing the architecture, people's gestures, the curves of the metal in the old gates. Everything became inspiration. He believed that luxury was not ostentation, but precision, that exact line that separates the ordinary from the eternal. And without fanfare, he began to transform Paris, without Paris even noticing. While other jewelry companies simply repeated patterns, Louis did the opposite. He questioned everything. Why follow traditional forms when the world is full of new possibilities? That was the kind of question he carried with him. It's the same mentality as an investor who isn't content with popular stocks and starts looking at emerging sectors before the rest of the world. That's how visionaries move. They see first, They risk first, they create first. And Louis was about to prove it to the world. His greatest asset: disciplined ambition. He understood that talent without method is wasted, and method without dreams is imprisonment. That's why he combined the two, like a craftsman who works with a magnifying glass in one hand and purpose in the other. It was from this combination that the Cartier style was born, which, little by little, began to influence designers, collectors, and even monarchs. And it is precisely when royalty enters this story that the game changes completely. The women who created the legend: muses, royalty, and secret inspirations. While many believe that Cartier was shaped solely by male minds, the truth is quite different. It was women, strong, bold, disruptive, who gave the brand its soul. From duchesses who accepted nothing less than perfection to actresses who knew exactly how to use a jewel to dominate a room, each left her mark. Louis observed these figures as one observes constellations, each gesture a sparkle, each preference a coordinate. And silently they became the beating heart of Cartier. One of the first major influences was Jeanne Toussaint herself, later nicknamed the Panther. She wasn't just elegant, she was untamed. Jeanne entered Parisian salons with the same audacity as someone who decides to invest in technology when everyone else is only talking about real estate. She simply saw beyond the surface. Her ideas defied boundaries, and without realizing it, she began to inspire entire collections. Each jewel created under her vision carried a blend of feminine boldness and timeless sophistication. And it wasn't just influential women from high society. Even discreet clients, with seemingly simple requests, changed the creative course of the house. A dress color, a casual comment, a longer look at a particular stone, everything was a clue for Louis and his team. Because deep down, Cartier always knew that jewelry is not just adornment, but silent translations of the soul. And it was from this combination of feminine minds that one of the brand's most intriguing stories was born, which would become even more mysterious when a feline figure began to take shape. The mystery of the Panther, the most controversial icon in high jewelry. The Panther symbol didn't emerge as a simple drawing, but as a whisper shrouded in mystery. It is said that Jeanne Toussaint possessed an almost savage strength, a firm gaze that seemed to see through people, and Louis Cartier perceived this immediately. The Panther was, above all, a reflection of her. Elegant, dangerous, free. It wasn't just an animal. It was a personality transformed into gold and precious stones. And when the first jewel featuring the feline was revealed, Paris fell silent. The controversy began because the symbol completely deviated from what was considered refined at the time. While other houses opted for delicate flowers, Cartier came up with a feline that seemed ready to pounce. It was almost as if someone were publishing a book about emotional wealth in the midst of an age of materialism. It would inevitably shock. But it is precisely this contrast that creates legends. The Panther represented women who didn't ask for permission, who knew who they were, and this type of message always stirs the world. Over time, the icon ceased to be just a jewel and became a signature, a trademark, DNA. Each new version brought a hidden detail, a different expression, a gesture that only a keen eye could capture. Collectors claim that it's possible to understand each phase of Cartier simply by observing the Panther's behavior over the decades, as if it were a silent narrator of the brand's own history. And it is precisely behind the scenes of this creation that even deeper secrets emerge, kept within the atelier itself. The secrets of the atelier, where time stands still and art speaks louder. Entering the Cartier atelier is like crossing an invisible border between the ordinary world and a universe where time simply slows down. There, each artisan works as if manipulating centuries of history with their fingertips. There are no hurried movements. Everything is meticulous, almost ritualistic. They treat every detail with the reverence of those who know they are creating something destined to survive entire generations. It's as if each jewel carries a small dose of eternity. One fascinating fact is that many of the techniques used there are the same as those from over 100 years ago. Even with technological advancements, Cartier insists on maintaining processes that demand patience, precision, and an eye that few possess. It's like comparing cooking with a ready-made recipe to cooking with soul. The difference is felt in the result. They shape stones as if sculpting stories, and choose metals as if choosing words for a narrative that will transcend time. And each piece carries this artisanal silence. Legend has it that some artisans can identify a Cartier piece simply by the way the light falls upon it. Not because there are obvious tricks, but because there is an invisible signature, something that cannot be replicated by machines. It's the kind of detail that only exists when art and purpose intertwine. And it is behind these closed doors that jewels emerge that, years later, would influence decisions, romances, kingdoms, and even scandals. Stories that only become more intense when we observe the impact that some pieces have had on the world. Jewels that changed destinies. The pieces that turned empires. Upside down, some Cartier jewels weren't created merely to shine. They were created to turn entire pages of history. There were pieces given to queens that changed an entire kingdom's perception of female strength, and others offered to lovers that sealed political alliances disguised as romance. The truth is that certain jewels carry more than precious stones. They carry hidden intentions, and when placed on the right neck, they can move influences like few words could. Cartier always knew this, even if it never said so openly. A striking example is the legendary necklace worn by the Duchess of Windsor, whose relationship with King Edward VIII shook the foundations of the English monarchy. The jewel was not just a gift. It was a silent manifesto of love and defiance. It's like when someone makes a bold financial decision to prove they are willing to follow their own path, a gesture that seems small, but changes the entire course of their life. And this necklace, even today, is studied by collectors who understand that every detail is an untold chapter. There are also lesser-known stories, such as that of an Asian princess who commissioned a Cartier tiara to mark the beginning of her political freedom. The piece was worn at a diplomatic ball, and that night a crucial negotiation was sealed, all under the soft glow of strategically placed diamonds. This shows how jewelry can be a silent tool of power, far more influential than it seems. And interestingly, when the brand realized this effect, it began to find ways to reinvent itself without losing that historical essence. The Cartier versus Time case. How the brand reinvented itself, without losing its soul. What's most impressive about Cartier isn't just what it created, in the past, but how it has transcended time without becoming a museum of itself. While countless brands have tried to keep up with trends by chasing fads, Cartier has chosen a different strategy, remaining true to its essence, but always making room for the new. It's like a person who matures without losing their authenticity. They change, yes, but never lose their character. This ability is rare, almost a silent superpower in the world of luxury. One of the secrets to this reinvention lies in the courage to reinterpret its own symbols. The Panther, for example, which was born wild and controversial, has returned in futuristic, minimalist, and architectural versions. The same happened with tank watches, inspired by tanks, which gained a thinner, more technological, and at the same time classic design. It's like someone revisiting their old life projects and realizing they can give them new meaning without erasing their history, only transforming it. And that keeps the brand alive. With the advancement of technology, Cartier understood that it could use new resources without losing the manual poetry that defines it. It incorporated 3D printing into the prototype, but maintained the human hand in the final finishing. It adopted light analysis algorithms, but still chooses diamonds by the artisan's feel. This fusion between modern precision and ancient soul became the formula for longevity. And it is precisely this mixture of past and future that prepares the ground to understand the true secret that sustains Cartier to this day. The legacy that never dies. The true secret of Cartier. The secret of Cartier has never been solely in the jewels, but in what they make people feel. Each piece seems to carry a rare kind of emotional memory, as if it holds the life of the wearer, the secrets they heard, the salons it illuminated. The brand understood early on that true luxury is not the sparkle of the stone, but the history it preserves. Perhaps that's why so many Cartier pieces are passed down from generation to generation, as if carrying an invisible thread connecting past, present, and future. And this silent heritage is what makes the name eternal. Throughout the decades, kings, artists, leaders, and ordinary people have found in Cartier not just adornments, but symbols of decisive moments. Weddings, coronations, reconciliations, farewells, all have been marked by a jewel from the house. It's interesting to note that, in many cases, the jewel witnessed profound changes even before the protagonists themselves realized it. Like a mentor observing small internal shifts, Cartier has always been present behind the scenes of human transformations. And this role goes far beyond aesthetics. Perhaps the true secret of Cartier lies in this. The brand has never limited itself to creating objects, but rather bridges between eras, between people, between stories. This is why its pieces seem to survive crises, fashions, wars, and social reinventions. They embody the rare combination of technique, emotion, and purpose. And when something has purpose, it simply doesn't die. But before revealing how this legacy connects with the way we ourselves construct our history, we need to go back a little and observe what this entire journey teaches us. Having reached this point, one thing becomes clear. Cartier didn't just build a brand, it built a legacy. And ultimately, this raises an uncomfortable question, one of those we try to avoid. What legacy are you building for yourself? Because the history of Cartier reveals a simple and brutal truth. Those who wait for the perfect moment never build anything eternal. It is the silent choices, made when no one is watching, that shape the most memorable empires. Now think honestly, what are the invisible gems you carry? What talents, stories, decisions, and opportunities are there, hidden away, waiting to be polished? Often, what separates an ordinary life from an extraordinary one is the courage to rewrite your own narrative. And if even a century-old jewelry store has managed to reinvent itself so many times without losing its essence, why couldn't you? What is still holding you back? If this video sparked something in you, curiosity, inspiration, reflection, then don't let it die with the next notification. Share in the comments what impressed you the most. In this story, which part made you think the most? And, of course, to continue delving into in-depth content like this, full of history, strategy, and transformation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications right now. You deserve to be in a place where knowledge isn't superficial, it's refined.